Welcome to the Simplify Your Life podcast. It's Coach Simona, and I'm glad you decided to tune in. Hey everyone! In today's podcast episode, I'm going to share with you cognitive biases examples, and we'll specifically dive deeper into one of the most common cognitive distortions called mind reading. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Simona, certified life coach and author of the book 111 Ways to Simplify Your Life. I make weekly podcast episodes on personal development, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe. Now, before we dive into mind reading and some helpful examples when it comes to this cognitive distortion, I want to remind you that this is the 7th episode of my series on cognitive biases, and there will be 8 more to come in the upcoming months, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't listened to the previous 6 episodes, I will leave links to them in the description box below. I've also created a special YouTube playlist so you can listen to all of the episodes on cognitive biases by visiting youtube.com/CoachSimona. Now, before we explore the mind reading bias in depth, let's clarify what a cognitive bias actually means. A cognitive bias is a systematic error in thinking that affects the decisions and judgments that we make. Another popular term that has the exact same meaning as cognitive biases is cognitive distortion. Now, as we mentioned, the cognitive bias we're going to explore in depth today is called mind reading. What does this cognitive distortion actually mean? Mind reading is all about assuming that you know what other people are thinking and jumping to conclusions without enough evidence to support them. For example, if you believe that someone will react in a certain way, or they're thinking something and you have no way of knowing that is true, you're engaging in mind reading. In many cases, you may assume that others are thinking negatively about you even though there is no real evidence to support that statement. The irony is that by thinking that they do, you will most likely react accordingly, which in turn will give them a reason to think negatively about you. Mind reading is also about assuming that someone is reacting negatively to you, even though their reaction may have nothing to do with you. It is kind of similar to personalization, which is a cognitive bias we already talked about. But mind reading has this added element of assuming that you know what others are thinking. Here are a few examples of mind reading. Let's say you call up a friend you haven't heard from in a while. They don't answer the phone, and you automatically assume that they're upset with you, and that is the reason they're not picking up. Or let's say your partner hasn't spoken to you in the past few hours since he got back from work. So you take his silence as a sign that there's something wrong with your relationship. Another example of mind reading is you're given a presentation and you notice that someone in the audience is about to fall asleep. So you think to yourself, I must be so boring that I'm putting people to sleep. This presentation is going terribly. In reality, each one of these 3 situations probably has nothing to do with you. And if you try to read other people's minds, you will go down a negative spiral filled with misunderstandings and false assumptions. Now let's go back to the first example and question its validity. Your friend doesn't pick up the phone. Does that mean that they're mad at you and don't want to talk to you? No. There could be millions of reasons why they're not answering the phone. So instead of mind reading, you can give them space and let them call you back when they're available. The second example of mind reading was your partner being quieter than usual after work. Okay, does it necessarily mean that there's something wrong with your relationship? Or could there be another reason for being unresponsive? Of course, if you're really concerned, you can always ask them about their day. Most people would share what's really going on when asked in a gentle way without pressure to answer right away. As for the third example, if someone falls asleep during your presentation, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like it or find you boring. It could simply mean that they had to stay up all night taking care of their baby, or had a long night celebrating their best friend's birthday. The problem with mind reading is that none of us can actually read minds. And there is no way of knowing what others are really thinking. If you keep trying to read other people's minds instead of giving them the benefit of the doubt, you will fall into the trap of living in fantasy land, instead of having a healthy conversation with another human being. As with any other cognitive bias, mind reading can be difficult to detect. So we need to be aware of its manifestations to be able to spot our error in thinking and choose a better, more objective view of the situation. The question is, do we all struggle with mind reading, or is it something that only happens to a handful of us? The short answer is probably yes. While we can't confirm that that is the case for every single person on planet Earth, it's definitely something that is quite common for us humans. We all have cognitive biases and blind spots. So although we may not struggle with the mind reading cognitive distortion per se, we'll definitely have problems with other cognitive biases. I've actually made a free downloadable cheat sheet with the top 15 cognitive biases that may be holding you back. So if you want to download it, just click the first link in the description box below or visit bit.ly/15biases. Now, let's go back to mind reading. When you have this cognitive bias, you believe that you're responsible for events that in reality are completely or partially out of your control. It also applies to taking things way too personally. Here's another example of mind reading. Let's say you see some of your colleagues laughing in the cafeteria, so you start having thoughts like, they're making fun of me. They probably noticed that this blouse doesn't look very good on me. I knew I shouldn't have bought it. When in reality, they may be laughing at a joke someone made, or discussing the latest gossip in the office that has nothing to do with you. As you can see, before we come to any conclusions, it would be beneficial to step back and objectively assess the situation. So how can we do that? What can help a lot when it comes to spotting the mind-reading cognitive distortion is to ask yourself the following questions. 1. Is this a fact? 2. What evidence can I collect to support this statement? 3. Am I being rational here, or is this a cognitive bias? 4. If this is a cognitive bias, which one is it? These questions will make even more sense as we go deeper into this topic with the next episodes from the Cognitive Biases series. If you're curious to see what else we're going to cover in the next few months, make sure to download your free cheat sheet by visiting bit.ly/15biases. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please like it. And subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss out on my weekly podcast episodes. I'm sending you all my love, and I'll talk to you in the next one.